Hi, Laura Coulter, and I represent EfficaAI. In EfficaAI, I help small business owners. Boy, I hope I went live already. Hi, let's say that again. Laura Coulter of EfficaAI, and I help small business owners who are scaling but not yet ready to hire and need a little help with that overwhelm, put in systems for and light AI to help give them some breathing room. Okay, so every superpower needs an origin story. So that's what my life is going to be about today. I'm going to tell you how I absolutely fell head over heels into AI and the relationship we have today, and how it's allowed me to do so much along the way. But it had to come in steps. So first things first is I had a teachers pay teachers store, and I was making $20, $30 a month if I had a good month, because I wasn't really focused on it and I wasn't paying a lot of attention to it. And I decided I was going to give it a deeper try. So I purchased some templates from another seller and took her course and said, okay, I can do this. And I spent a little time following her templates and just filling them in with my content. And she is the first who brought up to me, you can develop reading passages using AI, which I thought, ooh, cool, I'm going to try it. And I did. We got some back and forth going, and I figured out how to get it to the grade level and what I needed to do. It was a bit of a slog, because everything is at first, but once you get into the practice of it and build your systems, it gets a lot easier. So I bought those templates and I started creating material using AI. And my templates, the products that I created from those templates started to sell. So I was like, maybe there's something to this. And I was creating and posting, but I was feeling very scattered, because I'd start one and I would go through the whole reading passage process, and then I'd work on the questions and I'd work on this, and then I'd build it in the PowerPoint templates, and then I'd go and I'd do the production, the product description, and the thumbnails and all the things that go with it, and then I'd post it, and then I'd have to start all over on the next one. And so I was feeling the overwhelm on that. And it was, I wasn't making a whole lot of money from it, but I was making some. And I felt like, God, this was it. I just needed to get a hold of this. And so I started my own system on this. I started brainstorming ideas with ChatGPT or with Claude or with Copilot or any of the free versions, because you only get a little bit of them a day if you're using the free. So I was hopping in between them, but I knew what I wanted to do, and I thought, okay, let me just try making all the reading passage stuff and not building it in PowerPoint. So I started to put in a system where I batched it a little bit. And I would, I was building and building, and I was like, you know what? And this is my squirrel brain. These things look like everybody else who bought her templates, because I could see them out there. And I was like, I want it to look more like my stuff. So I stopped. I went into PowerPoint and I built my own templates to fit this. I mean, it was her stuff, but it was my colors and my shape and my twist on it. And I went into PowerPoint and I created master slides for every type of slide that I was going to use, because these were in letter size. So they're printed out as PDF, as a full-size sheet of paper, like a worksheet kind of thing. So I spent some time doing that, and once I did, all I had to do when I was building was go click the page that I wanted, and boom, it was already just the way I needed it to be, and I could fill in stuff. So that was a game changer for me. Plus, it looked like my stuff. It didn't look like the other people who were buying the same templates and the original person's templates. So I was grateful for that. So then I'm like, I'm producing and I'm typing in the prompt. I know the prompt and I need to type it in to get a reading passage. And then I need to go back and forth. And I'm like, you know what? I'm typing this in every time. So I opened up a Notion page and I developed an SOP for myself. I'm like, okay, I did the prompt, got the passage. I'm like, perfect, this prompt is fine. Copy it and put it in my Notion page at the top. This is step one. Step two is once it's all set up, I want you to generate 7 vocabulary words with definitions. So it did, and they weren't quite right. So we would have to go back because they didn't quite fit the template. So finally, I settled on the right prompt. I need 7 vocabulary words from the passage with a definition of no longer than 30 characters. Once I had that down and it was working, I copied it and I pasted it. And I added it to my Notion SOP. I went down for each of the 5 challenges on there and I had added to my SOP. At any time that I made a tweak to it, I went and made sure that I went back to my SOP and fixed that. So then like recently I took a break because I was busy focusing on EfficaAI setup. And then I had to go back this weekend, 2 days ago, this past week, and make another one. And I was like, how do I start? All I had to do was pull up my SOP. And I just started following. Oh, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. And I'd copy that prompt and start there. So that was super, super helpful. So remember, I was doing just the reading passages. So I made several reading passages and questions. Then I turned my attention to building them for a finished product. So I opened up PowerPoint, I got all my notes that I had built, and I started filling in the template. So I did several, like 5 or 6 reading passages, reading escape rooms like that, where I had all the innards, for lack of a better word, all the meat to it, and the framework, and then I just started plopping the meat into the framework. And once they were all built, I turned my attention to Canva, and this was cool because I knew I struggled with my templates in Canva. I really did, because I was just, I don't like the way it looks, let me change it, I had no consistency. So I had been going to summits and learning from other sellers, and I finally settled on a template that I love. And I can tweak it as I want, but I have that template as a brand kit. And I don't have to think about how I'm going to set it up. Now, I just open the template, plug in the picture, change the first page, the first image, screenshot of my item, go to the next page, change those. I don't have to move anything. I just drag my new thing and plug it in where my old one was. That was huge. I also create previews for them, and that was a bit of a struggle because we're talking sales funnel here. We're talking about, scroll stopping thumbnail, and the thumbnail is step 2, or all 4 of your images, or the step 2 of your funnel. The preview is step 3, and nobody's going to read the description until after they've gone through your preview and stuff like that. So your preview gives you more space to learn about, or to hook your people in. So here is where you talk about benefits and pain points that it's addressing and things like that. And you really want to make people draw into it, like they can see themselves in there. And I built it, and I'm like, I cannot build a new one every single time. Let's make some templates for this. So I did, and I have like 7 slides that I use, but only 4 of them ever need anything changed in them. The rest of them are good because they cover the same generic kind of topic on why this is beneficial. So super helpful. So once I build all my products, then I go build my thumbnails, then I go build all the previews, and then I go back to chat and say, here's everything. I need a product description. And I have a specific ChatGPT that another teacher seller used, so that I just depend on that quite a bit. I'll read through it, but I use it that way, and I can then start posting. So notice I did that in batches. I did the meat of it, and then I put it in the framework, And then I went into Canva and did the thumbnail listings using my template. Then I go to the previews and I use my template there. And mind you, I didn't have all these pieces. I started out with the AI reading passage, and then I was doing and scattered, and I'd go learn something from someone, watch a video, go to a summit, and I'm like, ooh, I'm going to try that. Ooh, I'm going to try that. And then I would slowly but surely, as I'm going through my pieces, okay, this is set now. Now let's look at this part. This part's still wonky. It's still overwhelming. I need to untangle it. What can I do? And so I build these systems over time that fit exactly what I need. And I know I have the power to tweak them whenever I want to. And it has been amazing. So another cool thing that I have just recently learned in Canva from one of the subjects is batching. Not batching. Batch create. No. Yeah, I think it's called batch create. I don't know what it's called. Bulk create. Bulk create. That's the word. So now I have said, you know what? I want to put vocabulary word walls in this reading escape room because it's part of reading fluency. I've been doing a lot of the research, making sure my stuff is great for middle school teachers. Um, so I leveraged the bulk create to create 15 word wall posters based on vocabulary from the reading passage, and I added instructions on how to use these for support on your students and when you use them and how you might use them. And then that allowed me to up the price of my product a little bit. But as time went on, I have this down. I can build these really quick. 2 or 3 days, I can have 2 or 3 of them out. So I'm tootling along. I'm tootling along in all my stuff, and somebody pokes me through not through my social. It might be through Etsy, or it might be through, oh, I know what it was. Yeah, it was, the poke was something different. But I started thinking about, I have a school year OneNote template, and I'm always late putting that out. I put it out like in July usually in the year, and that's pretty late for teachers because they're already planning and thinking in June. And I looked at my numbers, and I think it's one of my big money makers. I might make $100 out of it, but I was always putting it late. So I thought, what if I put it early and it was out there longer and I did some marketing, but I didn't have the bandwidth. So I turned to my daughter and asked if I could hire her to do this for me, to build this one, because it was very tedious. You had to go into each page and change the dates. There's nothing auto about working in OneNote, but it's one of my best sellers, so I got to keep doing it. She agreed, and then I had the job of making a template for her, or making an SOP for her. So what I did was I recorded myself on screen walking through doing one set of the things that I'm asking her to do. And as I'm doing it, I am saying out loud the things that I'm doing. And I'm trying to be very clear about it. I take that video, and I had the transcript turned on. So I pulled the transcript out of it and ran that through AI to get an SOP, and I put that in Notion. And then I shared it with her, and we had a brief meeting. We went through the instructions, and I showed it to her, and she was able to go. And in a few days, I had it back. She said, yeah, I referenced that thing a few times. It was helpful. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't have to think about it. That was so wonderful. So I did pay her for that. I think I paid her $50. Yeah, because that was probably going to make me 100 and more if I could help it. So I felt like that was one of those value pieces. We are still early, so we'll see how it goes, but I have sold a couple. Okay, so we went through how all of this stuff was helping me, in that I was leveraging social media a lot for creating SOPs. It helped me with my previews. It helped me with my template design, or I'm sorry, my thumbnail design. I said, I have 4 images and this is my sales funnel. My first one needs to stop the scroll and the other 3 need to be part of that sales funnel. Can you tell me what should be on each screen and what visuals should be there so that I can go build that? And it did. And so that was really helpful. And I tweaked it. Of course, I made it my own. But I didn't have to spend time building it from scratch because it understands the whole internet's worth of sales funnels. I do not. Okay, so the last piece of this is social media. I decided, hey, I don't have enough going on. I'm going to go ahead and start a social media account to market my store, which I'm not a fan. It's a lot of work. It really is. And I had done it before, back when I was working on a course creation business back in 2020. Um, and I had everything planned out. And at that point, I was batch scheduling, but I was making every single thing. And they were all images, and I would post on Twitter, and I would post 3 times a day. I would schedule out 3 times a day. So I was building, 7 times 21 things a week and scheduling them out. And if I get it all behind that, it was awful. I did not want to go there again. So I was very leery about getting into social media this time. And so what I decided to do was I decided to make it easy on myself. And my focus is reading fluency in middle school, so I decided to create scenarios. And I started with A, and I created a student named Alex. And this is Alex's issue with reading and how he behaves in class. And I drew this all from my own experience. And then I had Chat give me, we had worked out some pillars for my business and reading fluency. And so I had 5 pillars. And I said, okay, well, I'd like to work out a social media process and scenario with this. And we went back and forth for a couple of days until we landed on this scenario thing where for each pillar, there is something that happens in class, and that's what the story is telling. And the next day, how the teacher addressed it, what strategy they used to address it. And then the next pillar, same thing. But we're following one kid through 10 days. 5 pillars, 10 days. And there's a teacher, and it's a teacher telling the story about how the student would behave in class and what the teacher did to kind of address those needs and what they saw and thought. So I feel like those are really good scenarios. You have to go back and read them all in an order if you really want to get a good grasp for it. So my hope is that people would fall on one and say, hey, I'm going to go look at this site and see if there's beginning more to this story, because this seems like it's part of a story. And so I'm all the way, George, we just finished up George, so I've done A through G. And it's much easier for me now because I will batch them all. We've added a Meet George at the beginning and a summary of how do you help, or 8 tips to help your George at the end. So I've got 12 days worth of posts out of that. And now I'm working on bringing my live bits of connecting things in my shop to the story I'm telling in the scenarios, and or things in my, or personal stories that I have done as a teacher into, so that story hits home a little bit more and they feel like they can trust me and maybe go look at my stuff that I'm marketing in there. That's how that works. So once I got that down and I remembered scheduling, there was no way I was going to do social media if I did not have the option to schedule. And so I now schedule out 10, 12 days at a time, essentially. And then I'm in between, I go live and speak. Not live, I'll put in a video where I'm talking about things. It's 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes long, usually. So that's been super useful for me, but I could not have done all that I do in that case without the AI help and the systems help. Gosh, if I had to think of and start everything from scratch every time, I would never have made it this far. Not only do I feel like I work full time. I mentioned that, but I work 40 hours a week, and I am leveraging AI at work incredibly now as well. It's it has completely changed the entire landscape for me because I work in knowledge, and we have articles that need to be revised so that AI um, they're neural search friendly and give generative answers better. And that's a huge job that I would not have been able to do without AI and the prompting that I have learned through this whole process. So the power of systems has given me the breathing room to not only work full time and take on that big project, but also maintain my shop and market it and start helping others with this system stuff and the AI. I love this so very much. I can't even tell you. I get excited talking about it. Anyway, that's my origin story, and that's why I'm doing what I do. And thanks for hanging out with me.